Thank you so much for joining us. Good evening and welcome. My name is Lillian Muli. It's time for One-on-One. Please start talking to us using the hashtag One-on-One or continue to talk to us using SMS number 22422. Tonight in studio, as earlier mentioned, we discussed a social problem where Kenyan men are maintaining multiple families, and this is arguable. Not all men are doing this, but a significant number have been found to be maintaining multiple families or even housing mistresses. In most cases, these affairs are revealed eventually, for instance, in cases where women emerge with babies with paternity claims after the deaths of their lovers, who are usually married men. Tonight in studio, we want to talk relationships. We want to talk clandes, or what do you guys call them? Side dishes, as they are known in the social domain. We want to talk the way forward for the innocent babies, the illegitimate babies that are born out of these unions. In studio tonight, I have a male panel. Oyunga Pala, he is a columnist with The Standard. Thank you very much for joining us. Also with us is Eric Omondi. He's a relationship analyst. Thanks for your time. And of course, Robert Burala. He is the founder of The Naked Truth, and he is also with us in studio. Thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen. So I want to begin with the embarrassment and humiliation for a widow grieving the death of her husband. And then on the day that she is burying her husband, she is mourning. This woman appears, or these women appears, and to make matters worse, with children, the humiliation. Do all men cheat? What's this about? Oyunga, let's start with you.
First of all, not all men cheat. I think what we're seeing is, as a result of social media, there's a lot of media presence these days. Back in the days of pre-internet days, it was a lot harder to discover some of these cases, but now it's a little bit more open, so we tend to get a sense that there's more guys cheating. But in reality, people have just been cheating for as long as they have. There's really no expansion that's been happening. I think what's happening now is that social media is basically exposing a lot of things. The big question we need to ask ourselves is, why do men cheat? I think that's what we want to get into, like, properly here. But the thing is that not all guys cheat. The difference is that the guys who are caught out the bad apples tend to stand out a lot more. Yeah.
Okay, we'll be getting to the why do they cheat for those who cheat. Eric, I want to get your thoughts.
Well, I'll twist it a little from Oyunga's. I think from back in the yesteryears, and if you compare yesteryears and today, I think women are more out there and they're very abrasive, and so are men. For instance, if you take an example, 10, 15, 20 years ago, you wouldn't find a clique of women in a bar just, hitting the bottles, which is a very common occurrence now. If you drove down the street, you find a random bunch of women just enjoying the drink. So I think there's a lot of liberalism that has checked into our society that wasn't before. Yeah. So
these women exist, but we don't know about them. And like I said, going back to particularly the high-profile ones, and maybe this is what Oyunga was talking about, Robert, the fact that perhaps social media, comments about these things, and this comes into focus for the more high-profile personalities who perhaps have died, and then, you see, apart from the widow, other women, standing before, the congregation or whatever, with children as well, who are posing as family members as well.
Yes, it's true. Unfortunately, I personally don't agree with women waiting until the man dies for them to appear like a movie star, If the man is alive, and you're sure you have his children, come and talk to the major wife and say, this is the situation. But when you come in, when people are grieving, there's a very bad taste into it.
Come and talk to the main wife, but then that will create antagonism. It will probably cost you your lover at the time, or at least that's what I'm thinking would happen.
Well, if it does, then so be it, because maybe you're an intruder in the first place. But appearing at the wrong time, with the right children, but at the wrong time, leaves a very bad taste when people are mourning, and of course some of these children who appear look like the deceased. I mean, it's like a carbon copy. You can't even deny. We are not saying that they don't deserve to be recognized, but the timing of them appearing, for me, leaves a very bad taste. Yeah.
Okay, your thoughts?
Well, I think the women know all this well. It would be really funny to imagine that wives to these men who've died. I've never known all along that he has 6, 7, 8 children outside of wedlock. I think they know, but then where I would agree with Oyunga is the media really exemplifies that, because it tells the people.
And hold that thought before I get to Oyunga's thoughts on why men actually cheat, for those of them who are in these relationships. Someone here is saying, I'm in a relationship with one of the governors since he was an MP and assistant minister, and now a governor. We got a boy who is now 5 years old. The governor has been assisting us through M-Pesa. The boy has no medical scheme. Listen to this. He's been assisting them through M-Pesa. The boy has no medical scheme, no education scheme, and when I requested for a formal way to take care of the baby, the governor instead stopped everything to now and told me to go to court, and that my case will run for years. He's really frustrating me. I don't have money to pay a lawyer. So before we get to that legal jargon, and I'll be able to read out something that just came in, Oyunga, why do men find it necessary to even have these mistresses or clandes, call them what you may? Why do men do this?
Let me jump off the back of the last comment you made. There's rules of engagement, because Robert was saying something about the woman should have come out early and identified herself and said, hey, he's the father of my children and I want my rightful place. But what happens is that the rules of engagement, usually they're unsaid, but when you first bump into this guy, it's quite obvious that he's married, unless you're going to be like the absolute blonde not to have figured it out. But there he is, he's a married guy. The rules of engagement,
the women know that this guy is married. They don't have a problem with it.
And they don't have a problem with it until it comes, you break the rules of engagement. Because the rules of engagement, you're my mistress, stay out of the scene. And so as long as you agree to play those rules of engagement, that's what you bought into. And so when later it falls apart and you come out and saying, I'm a victim, the man is like, hey, hang on a minute, we didn't discuss that.
But what about the mistresses who say, look, he told me that, his relationship with his wife is not working, that he's going to leave his wife for me. I think it's a typical scenario for all married men.
It's naivety, literally. I mean, it's naivety. It's a shame that mature, grown-up people should still be at this level of sort of like frankness, just unawareness. The thing is that, I mean, when a man gets into a position of power, and you see typically, as soon as guys rise up the power ranks in this country, they suddenly have a need for a harem around them. And it's all about validation.
Does that justify it, though?
It doesn't justify it, but the thing is that when you live in a society where there are no consequences for having a harem, there's no consequences for cheating, then what happens is that you get away with it, just as much the same way we sort of like get away with corruption. If you can steal and nobody really condemns you, there's no consequences, then the thieves are celebrated in this country.
Okay, and as we get away from that particular conversation, the Law of Succession Act provides the children born out of extramarital affairs are heirs of their biological fathers. So you can go to court and you can claim for this man to actually take care of his child if it is proven that indeed that is his child. But then that brings me to the conversation of, so you already have 5 children with your wife, and arguably what you have left for your children is enough for them, their education fund and what have you. So you put your children in this situation where they're now going to have, and I know this is an unfair statement, but where they're going to have to share their cake with thousands of other God knows who, people that are emerging day by day. Your thoughts, Eric, Robert?
I think this leads us to zip control. Because the problem of zip control is the one that is bringing us into this problem. Because if you go and drink alcohol, you'll get drunk. If you go and lay down with a woman, the chances of getting a child are very high. So we need to go back not to justify why men are cheating, but to tell them the importance of zip control.
Chances of getting a child, baby mamas and the baby mama drama issue. Will a man love me more because I have his child? Say a married man out there, for the women out there who feel like they can use babies to quote-unquote trap a man.
That is absolute, for lack of a better word, rubbish. I don't think a man would settle down with you because you're carrying their child. And we like shortcuts. I believe that if people knew better, then they would do better, especially women. Women have a whole lot of, and forgive me, I know they'll start tweeting and saying, that guy, blah, blah, blah. But women have a misconception of men. Men are emotionally driven beings as well. So, just to go into the question of why men cheat, I know a lot of people ask, why is it that men cheat? Men need validation as well. They need that little tap on the shoulder that, I appreciate you and I see what you're doing. you know, which a lot of women don't give.
Are you babies though? Because
no, really.
I know of women who have said they do everything. They go for cooking classes, they go for sex classes with the likes of Robert Burale, Naked Truth and what have you. They get sex aunts to come and talk to them. They keep the house clean, they keep their body hygiene proper, they're well educated, well groomed. What is the problem?
Then you need to ask your man what exactly, how he needs to feel appreciated. You can tone your body to size 8 and speak the Queen's English. But if, say, you lack respect, which, if you look it up, means to lionize, to appreciate, to speak highly of. If you lack a small thing as respect, baby, can I get a glass of water? You don't know where the dispenser is? You don't know in this house after 12 years. So I should get you water as well.
But that's petty, though. That is...
Well, from a woman's point of view, it looks very petty, but then it bruises a man. A lot of men go out there, those clandays appreciate them. He comes in, the shoes are removed. Oh, babe, how was your day?
But that's exhibitionist. How do you even...
No, it's not. But,
okay.
But like, I am a man, and we are men, and I'm trying to tell you, and that's where you guys keep rubbishing what men are saying, but it's those small, tiny things. It's, you know, finding out how his day was at work, and not just taking him for granted. Just very tiny things. Those make the difference. Men are equally emotionally driven human, rather beings too, just as women. It's just that they feel like it's very unmanly to show it or to request. As women always go and text and say, I don't feel loved enough, you need to text me more, you need to call me back. Men wouldn't possibly do that, but they need their reassurance.
Okay, younger mistresses here, a couple of them are writing in and asking, how do men truly feel about their mistresses? How do you guys feel about, because yes, you will say, I love you, or at least that's the assumption, but truly is this an escapist route to seek a quick rush? Is there hope for these mistresses? Because we know under customary law that polygamy is recognized, and that eventually this could turn out to be something that somebody can actually bank on. How do men feel about these other women?
Obviously, I don't speak from experience. This is pure deduction.
I don't expect you to say you're speaking from experience, though.
But the thing is, what happens is that the thing about mistresses is this: is that we come, and this is very sort of evolutionary, if you allow me, is that monogamy is pretty recent in our history. If you think about how recent monogamy has been in our society, it's pretty recent, the last 100 years. So a lot of men, and I've got to give you some social context so it helps me answer the question better. A lot of men come from a premise where they get validation by the number of women around them, right? So what happens is that when they first get married, a lot of men start out as accidental husbands. That means he didn't really, he intended to get married, but purely for social reasons, because it gives a sort of social status, and it's also the only way to get children in our society. So a guy gets married, then he grows in terms of his own status, and he realizes, hang on a minute, I sold myself short. I could get a few more women. But the problem is this, is for a guy who, when he was at his normal stage, hardly had any attraction, 5 years into a job and a new status, suddenly all those women he had no access to are available.
Yeah, but don't you have that conscience that tells you this is the woman who stood by me when I had nothing, when I was in that little SQ? This is the woman that was by my side. This is the woman I have grown with. So, and this brings us to the money conversation. You guys are called sponsors nowadays, so it's a money game, and you're there, you know, bankrolling perhaps this little campus girl, but your wife is living in absolute squalor. That has been known to happen.
I mean, and that's just basically these jokers amongst us. Huh?
Yeah.
The thing is that
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been there because there's certain consequences. I mean, there's been a big story in the news about a life triangle that went wrong. Ask any average guy, like, what happened there, and guys will tell him, and that guy was just being absolutely careless. You know, the stuff you just don't do. I mean, it's provocation. You can't get away with that sort of behavior. At least it's been shown. But the thing is this: is that when it comes to relationships, men have a very interesting code, a language of love that not enough women start to know. So when you're in a relationship with a woman for a long time, what happens is that people stop evolving within a relationship. You tend to look at your man as a fixture. So he's the same guy you knew from 5 years ago, and the man is slowly evolving. So you stop working at it because you just assume, because it's been reduced to sort of material provision. Yet the man, as Eric pointed out here, has major emotional validation needs that he never bothered to inquire and find out. And it doesn't help the men are not very good at expressing themselves. So what happens? He leaves his little hints around. You don't pick them up. Ultimately, one day he goes out and somebody starts to give him that validation, and slowly by slowly something builds.
Yeah.
And if there's no intervention, an affair starts off.
But then again, one would then argue, initially, you know, when you're newly married, you still take your wife out for a drink, you still hang out as couples, you still do the same things you used to do when you were dating pretty much. And then there's this Kenyan thing where men just don't go out with their wives, or if they go to parties, the wives have their little corner where they all sit together, and the men have their little corner where they all sit together. So I was talking to Wahiga earlier about football and what have you. When the guys go out for football, when we were newly married, perhaps we used to go for that football together. Now, it's something that you do with your, you know, girlfriend or with your side chick.
Okay, yes, I know we're talking about why men are cheating, and I'm not justifying why they're cheating, but also women play a major role in this. Back to your question on mistresses. As long as the man is still with his wife, he will tell you, we are going through issues, I will leave my wife, I want to tell you without batting an eyelid, you'll be a mistress for 55 years. He's not going to leave his wife for you, you know. He will tell you all the right things. And secondly, sometimes women, men get bored easily, so the onus is on women to keep the men excited. Because after maybe 10 years in marriage, everything becomes very normal. And then your man meets someone and the lady will be swinging from a chandelier landing on your man. And the man will be like, oh, okay, this is exciting. But one thing, you need to understand, sex never keeps a man. You don't keep your man by giving him what he can buy. I'm not saying it's right. A man can buy food, a man can buy sex. Respect is what a man wants. Just those small things, you know, validating him. You cannot be talking about his your ex-boyfriend's Mulika iPhone and your husband has a Mulika Mwizi. Things that break him. And then what happens if he lacks that? He starts looking to other places where he will get that. That's why you can get a highly corporate man packed in a one-room shack because that woman just tells him the right things. And then you wonder, how comes, you know, why is my man going for such a woman? I'm not saying it is right.
And I know that is the argument that a lot of women, even in chamas across the country, have. That, did you see what he's cheating on me with? Women have been known to say that. So does it actually, what you're saying?
But you're saying that as you point your finger, you have 5 inches of nails that can break any time, and there's a woman just going down on her knees and removing the man's shoes and just saying, you know, lay your head.
I think.
How was your day?
Okay.
Men are very old-fashioned, to be honest.
Well, yeah, and women will tell you the way.
You're the second person who has talked about the taking off your shoes thing. I'm glad Oyunga is not on that train of thought.
I've never had that privilege.
I mean, this is the year 2016.
But it's not literal. It's what I'm trying to say, and I believe if I speak for Burale, is men simply, well, respect is to men what love is to women. If women can get that through their heads. Respect is to men what love is to women. How a woman love to be told 150 times, baby, I love you and you're the best thing that happened to me. There's something about your hips, lips and fingertips. Look at your mouth. Jesus. And then you turn around and think you deserve that, and then you don't give him the respect. Men don't want, we don't want you to buy us flowers. In fact, we show love by providing.
Yeah, but respect is earned as well, and I think that is the argument. You don't come home at 5 a.m.
Absolutely, but there would be something that led me to be coming back home at 5 a.m. This is how you... I'll give you an example.
Come home at 5 a.m. and let me greet you with love.
I'll give you an example.
We have some jokers, as Oyunga Paula said. There are men who, when you are in a bicycle, you love your wife. Then when you're in a 4x4, you're carrying prostitutes. Those are jokers. You can't now disown and rubbish the woman who stood by you when you're very unattractive. Now, because now you have a Giorgio Armani suit, as opposed to Giorgio Parmani, and now you're carrying all the other women, those jokers cannot be put in the same table of men.
Let's talk about HIV awareness, STIs, and the risk involved, particularly because it is obvious that there is unprotected sexual intercourse that goes on, and this is seen because there's children, there's an offspring, there's results of these, you know, acts. So, you know, the risks, the sexual risks involved. When you're with your wife and this woman assumes that my husband and I are totally faithful to each other, and you go out there to somebody that you don't see every day, who do you as men imagine these people are with when you're back at home with your wife? Do men actually ever think that way? Is protection an issue? Is it something that you guys actually take seriously?
I think I'm a stickler to zip control, because when you're back with your wife, if this lady is sleeping with you as a married man, she would sleep with 2 other men as married men.
Absolutely.
So the chances of her bringing something to you, it becomes a vicious cycle, are very high. So the only solution to this is zip control. Really, I don't know how possible that is, but I do believe it can be done if we just put our minds to it. Because now people, I mean, we even have 16-year-old boys having more sex than married couples. So these are the people who are growing up when they're 25, they're principalities in sex.
Yeah.
So it's just a messed up situation.
I mean, it's carelessness as well. I mean, choices have consequences. I mean, men should know this. But then you go back into why guys are very risk averse. You know, it's like how we drive on our roads. You know, you have your safety belt. You know, you're bloody high. What are you doing on the highway at that time? You know, take an Uber or something. But men become risk takers when usually they're damaged. You know, guys have their own internal issues that they're dealing with that have not managed to resolve, and so they just use risk as a form of escape. And we see it in alcohol, we see it in different behavior, what we call like risk behavior patterns. And so basically, if you look at it deeper, there's a psychological problem that happens unconsciously. So the guy's not even aware of why he's doing this, and usually there's that thing of after the act, then the realization comes. Because some guys just don't think through these consequences at all. And so does it become
a rush? Does it become like a high?
It's not even a...
Because you've already done it anyway, so...
I know, but then the thing is that if you... And this is my problem as well. We're in a society where we don't... First of all, there's not enough public shaming, in the sense of, at least for men.
Right.
Even it's pretty straightforward. You know, you mess up, you know, you're going to be basically slammed hard. But for guys, since there's no public shaming, a guy can pretty much just get away with anything. And then the thing is also, we don't quite celebrate men who respect fidelity, men who sort of like a staunch, a guy there's no man who's been praised for being with his wife for 20 years and never cheating. In fact, he goes up to a boss and shows himself up because they say, who's this wuss? You know, I mean, you haven't even tried, at least. So
really?
It's like, I mean,
so there's
a major socialization issue in our country. Yeah.
But then again, you'll agree that you walk around with a lot of trophies. So you're also, I'm not saying you guys per se, but there's also people's children that are being ruined in all of this. Small girls, campus.
What do you say? They make choices.
Yeah.
I mean, they know exactly
so an 18-year-old is not a small girl.
No, not at all. They know exactly what they're doing.
And they become very aggressive of late. Yeah.
I think if married women would very sternly say that, look, John, if I find as much as you having cheated again, this is exactly what I'm going to do, and they live through that threat.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of women are really accepting of these behaviors, and it goes on. It makes it, you know, it makes it bigger and bigger and worse and worse every day. So if you said, this is what is expected of you as my husband, and you state it down, either verbally or you write it down, however you deal with your husband, so that he knows.
There's a woman here who's saying, I know my man cheats, I know my husband cheats on me, but I can't do anything about it. And this brings me to the conversation about a certain blogger who went out and said that she found out her husband was having an affair, followed him and found his car parked outside his secretary's office in Langata. And what followed was that she, you know, left him, filed for divorce. Are these affairs worth ruining a 20-year marriage over? Are these affairs worth throwing away everything? Your children, your family, your investment?
My thinking is this: you'll be up there who you are down here, and if, for instance, if I'm friends with Oyunga and he has a habit of doing something that I quite dislike, what I would simply do is discontinue that friendship, because it's hurting me, okay? And it's not going to one of all of a sudden just do something really big to make me discontinue the friendship. It's little tiny bits of things. You know, maybe one time he's going to come borrow my car and smash it, and like, dude, man, you haven't fixed it. Oh, I'm broke, I'll do it, blah blah blah. Then the next time he does something else. So if there's a lot of that going on, then you're better safe coming off than staying.
Okay, I get you. Seriously, men can disappoint you. This is a lady who's saying, I'm married, but my husband cheated on me with my best friends. Now he left us. I have his baby girl. He doesn't know how we are faring. I just hear he sleeps with any woman he meets anywhere. So okay, so for women as well, because we'll get to the women, you know, a one-liner on the women as well, and the fact that you're leaving them no option but to also seek affection elsewhere. So for the women, what are the rules of engagement in terms of how close you allow your man to mingle, say, with your friends, with Yeah.
That is very key. What women don't understand sometimes is that when your man cheats on you, sometimes you need to look at your 4 top friends. The women, you go and say, you know, last night my man was swinging me from left to right. What you don't know, you're giving him free marketing. And the women you run and tell, yeah, my husband doesn't do this or this and that. The same women you've been talking to will go and offer your husband that which you say you don't give him because you're pissed off. And they're the ones who will give you a shoulder to cry on and then open Thailand for your husband later.
So are you saying men don't have that conversation? Men don't talk about their women to their
for example, I'm in a group called Muscles. We are men, and when one of them, if a man is in a funny situation, he will WhatsApp and say, you guys, I'm in a fix. If anyone is near, come and get me out. We are very honest like that. But what I'm saying, a man will not talk about his woman sexually to other men.
But women do.
And that's why you go wrong. I
think you guys talk about a whole lot of things. Like, you know, he took me to Nyahururu as in a chopper. Who is this man? Jesus. And then the chicks are like, what does he do? He's a lawyer. Then they start checking him out. And then you've invited problems. Now all of a sudden there's Jane, Anne, Lucy, who are like, hey Paul, you screwed it up. So I think you need to sort of edit what you need to put out there. How is the relationship? Fine, we are really happy, we thank God.
Yeah, but no man is an island. How do you not confide, sharing your excitement?
But you share
boundaries.
Too much, you know,
the boundaries must be there.
There should be boundaries. If I should, you know, quote the Bible, they say, he who trusts in man is cursed. So every time you're putting out information out there, somebody's going to use it against you. Nobody wishes the best for you that much.
Okay, so
you shouldn't trust like that.
So, okay, limit the talk, right? So, in terms of the women, Oyunga had asked this earlier. What choice do you leave women out there when they know, and it is openly known, like a lot of the women are saying here, that look, my husband has a mistress, he's unapologetic about it. It is something that I have learned to live with. She exists. He comes home when he chooses to, leaves when he chooses to, disappears over the weekend, comes back. So, for you as the men, what option are you leaving this women in terms of affection? A woman in her early 30s, early 40s, still young, still needing that affection, and even 50s really. What option? Because a lot of women are saying, they're seeking affection elsewhere.
Everybody needs affection. The thing is that you can't quite control a man who is not committed to a relationship. There's nothing you can do. You're going to tag this guy. There's nothing you can do. Chain him down. Nothing you can do. Even if he's not physically involved with other women, if it's emotional distance, there's nothing you can do. So the thing is that I think what women have to understand is that it takes two to tango. So if this guy is not playing ball, you've got basically more or less two choices. Either succumb and suck it in and agree that, you know what, I might miss out on the emotional or perhaps sexual connection and I get some financial security, or, which is usually the better option, even for its all social consequences, is that move on and find your own happiness. Absolutely. But there's this notion in our society that I'm tied down, and then and we understand the consequences of this, because we're in a society where women really get punished for breaking a union, right? It's a lot easier for a guy to step out of the union and say, hey, you know what, she just wasn't being a good wife, she couldn't cook, she wasn't giving me the way I like it. But when a woman does that, she tends to suffer harder consequences. So you can understand why women then basically stay within a relationship and say, you know what, for the sake of the group harmony, for the sake of my good name and my children, I'll suffer through these consequences. Yeah.
Okay.
I think if we taught self-love a bit more, people would start living more healthier and happy relationships than we are currently, you know, observing. I think a lot of men and women equally are in bondage, for lack of a better word. They're in bondage and they're refusing to break off the bondage.
Do you agree?
I don't understand how you would be going home, or rather, you know, living with the same man who you obviously know is having multiple affairs.
But this is the thing, for those who argue that I suspect, but I just don't want to know, because the thing is, you are also very manipulative. There's men out there who will deny, and it's called
it wasn't me.
deny unless you're caught. Even if you're caught, deny. So this manipulation, the fact that you're doing all these odd things but you still, you know, keep stringing your wife or your fiance or your girlfriend alone.
But also, Lillian, allow me just to say this also. Yes, when we talk about sponsors, men going out all over the place outside their marital home, and we usually say it's a man who's doing something wrong. But I want you to understand that also women have become very aggressive. I mean, the unfortunate situation we had the other time, I think last week, when a man comes and acts out of rage like that, maybe the lady made him feel like he is the king. So when a man's kingdom is threatened, the first instinct of a man is to protect that kingdom. So we have also an aggressiveness that has come. I mean, an 18-year-old girl being so aggressive on a 55-year-old man, and women know how to do this thing. I mean, they can make a man be like jelly. So as much as we're blaming the men, can the mistresses also try and just work so hard and get their own men?
Yeah, but the mistresses also have feelings, and they do happen to fall in love with these men eventually, or at least that would be the argument. And therefore, who is at fault here? Is it the man? Is it the mistress? Is it failure from the wife?
It's a fallacy. I mean, I think we play up this emotional game a bit too much. You know, and I look at the relationship sometimes like family, like siblings in a family. Everybody has some level of dysfunction in the family. The reason why you don't diss your brother or your sister or decide to throw your mom into jail is because there's a certain commitment that you've made in terms of a bad relationship, and somehow that's what keeps families together. And relationships are not easy. This idea that we're just gonna, too much romance, too much princess in Wonderland going on. People just have to realize it takes work, there's ups and downs. So we've got to stop getting to this compartments of it's all about love, and when love disappears, it's a fallacy. People have to, it takes work. And not enough people want to put in the work. That's the problem.
Yeah, but
I think people should be very open to say, look, I will feel respected and loved when you do this. And if somebody breaks off from how you expect to be loved and you feel respected, then you walk out.
And I was asking my cameraman in studio earlier, including my sound guy, whether it's possible for a man to love two women. And one of the guys here told me yes. Is that true? Is that accurate?
As Robert Burale, I don't think it is.
Eric, I want to hear your thoughts.
In different ways, perhaps, maybe.
In different ways.
Well, I think if I have this very good friend of mine. We went to school together. Ogembo tells me he's been married now 3 years. He says, "Look, I committed to love my wife." He would say that when he's high, when he's sober, and I committed to be with his woman. So if a man should commit, I think that's greed. I love you, but okay, I also love Sophia. It's crazy. You have to commit. So we have to get to the point of committing that, look, I paid my vows, and I respect my vows so much as to not stray. It's possible not to stray. I think it is.
Okay, Oyunga, what do you said it's for different reasons.
The thing is this, is that there's, as any man will tell you honestly and truthfully, the moment you get into a relationship, the moment you get into a marriage, suddenly all this lovely women that would have been better suited to you suddenly seem to appear. The thing is that if in a monogamous relationship, there's a contract. It's just basically a contract that's based on honesty and integrity. Every guy who eventually grows up, which is what we hope for in evolution of mankind, is that you start to learn that basically it takes work, and there's sort of little nuances that you start to basically grow in a long-term relationship. Stuff that basically goes beyond this puppy love that become a very big fascination relationships. So the thing is that it's not that men can't love other women. The thing is that what are the consequences of loving other women? If the consequences are severe and they ruin what you already have, then it's basically it's pointless. It's the same way with any material acquisition. We'd all love to have more than we have, but if there's consequences to get those things that will make us suffer, we've got to hold back. It's basically self-discipline.
Yeah. And before we take your tweets, I want to talk about the persons that are doing very well career-wise, women who have chosen to remain single, who have just said, you know what, I can't deal with this drama. This is what I've experienced relationship-wise. Probably, this lady has been a mistress before, or perhaps has dated somebody who ended up being a total disappointment. The faith that women are losing, and I'm saying women, I don't want to talk about men right now, but the faith that women are losing in relationships based on men behaving badly.
I know sometimes our past experiences impede our forward movement. Don't let a man's lack of maturity affect you from, or stop you from moving forward, because there could be a man waiting for you.
So get your heart broken 20 times over?
It's okay. I'm telling you, when you hold on, you will get the right man. And I will say this, and I'm sure the tweets will take over from you being told off. Sometimes this, not all, I must say this, these women chamas, and a woman, you've just met this man, he's tall, dark and handsome, and then another woman tells you the way the former boyfriend who is tall, dark and handsome broke her heart. Then all of a sudden, the man you've just met, who could have a heart of gold, becomes an enemy. So there's that, another woman's bitterness affecting your happiness. So you need also now to understand, it doesn't matter what any other person went through or the past. I'm just gonna stay focused, because let's be honest. You will say you'll be single for 25 years. Your body is not made of metal.
I think the other thing.
So you mean your age? No, that's an unfair statement. Let's take your tweets before I hear from Eric. What are you guys saying on Twitter? The hashtag is #OneOnOne, and it's coming up. Okay, so there we go. If you get a good woman, you will be happy, and if you get a bad one, you will be a philosopher. Okay, this is coming from a guy. Okay, you're saying men want to be appreciated. Respect is to men what love is to women. That's echoing, I think, what Eric said. Nancy Okuta, current modern women seek to economically empower herself and have little time for the husband.
Yeah.
And somebody was saying, not all men cheat, but our women should also learn to respect. So a lot of blame game going on there. What were you saying, Eric?
I just wanted to echo Burali's sentiment. A lot of women have a view of men from women. If you went to a random salon, you see a magazine, 92 ways to know he's cheating, 46 ways to definitely know he has 2 other children from your wedlock, 132 ways to know that it's just about to begin an affair. Written by Mary McLaren, written by Jane Smith, written by... So women have an idea about men from women, and it's completely wrong. Because you would go and deduce very negative aspects of your past relationship to a fellow girlfriend, and they would think and buy that as the gospel truth. Whilst if they just met Abu Raleigh and had coffee and the conversation, then they would really they would really have an understanding, the understanding of who that particular man is. I am completely different from Oyunga, and so I am from Abu Raleigh. Not all men are the same. Even if you put 100 men who drink together and play Rouge or whatever, they are very, very, very different.
There is also this thing, I mean, when women say, I'm going to be single for life, I mean, you could be single for life, which is great. Now, there's different reasons, spiritual reasons, academic reasons. You could find your reasons for being single for life. The thing is, though, when you're single and you blame entire mankind for your problems, and what is typically forgotten is that you attract who you were. So there's a lot of women who then do 20 list of 20 things I want in my man. And when you ask her to then measure herself against that list, she wouldn't make the 10% of that list. And yet, so we have basically, I mean, basically a joker demanding a prince, you know, I mean, it's just not going to work. So then you go out on the market and you wonder why you can't attract anybody. You basically attract who you are.
Okay, so be a happy blonde, take it as it comes.
I couldn't agree more. I like to think myself, well, if you are looking for somebody who espouses a particular set of values, then you ought to be at least at par or better than them.
But you also don't like forward-thinking women. You don't like women that question.
That is absolutely not true. The point is this: if you talk to your friends and say, I really look for a man who speaks well, or a man who reads. I like men who run. This issue of pot bellies. Then you're saying that with a huge six-pack. It doesn't make sense. Those tires, you know. You've never read a book in an entire year. You're always partying. Then you're like, there's something about men who drink that grosses me out. Give me another beer. What are you talking about? Why can't you start becoming the person you're just like, do the
but isn't there, you know, a place that we can meet halfway so that it's not all about you and it's not all about
I fully understand that, but I would like a situation where, even from men's point of view, if I am going to look for a woman who is trim and clean and, you know, well-traveled, I should also up my game to that level where I'm equally watching out. Hata kama sijaenda Amerika, niende hapa Uganda, Busia, so that we can have a conversation about traveling.
let
But
me
you can't
get-
say, travel, I like someone who travels.
Okay,
Then
and
you're
as we
never
get,
going to
as we
marry.
get, yeah, as we get your passing words, 22422, you're saying, I think men are just pretenders. My father passed on, and that's when we realized he had another family. And somebody here is saying, I was in a relationship for 2 years. When I told the guy that I was pregnant, he blackmailed me and even disappeared. Now my child is 5 years old, and I've never seen him again. Somebody here is saying, it's social demographics. Only 30% of men can attract and keep a woman, yet practically all women are marriageable, and yes, you can love more than one person just like you do your kids. This is Charles in Nairobi. And finally, how can I trust men after being totally cheated on, beaten, slept on an empty stomach and thrown out of the house with his only 3 kids? Honestly, it's unbelievable. He passed me off for somebody younger and dumber. She actually said younger and dumber.
Just don't trust that man. You can trust another man.
Yeah.
And if you realize, one said all men are pretenders because when my father died, this one did this, all men are bad because
That's
the other
your
one did the
father.
same. What is happening now? You're carrying, you're carrying someone else's mistake and loading it on someone who doesn't deserve it. So what I would like to say, and another problem, just allow me to say this, is sometimes we're in a culture, thanks to Mexican soaps, thanks to the internet and to social media, we're raising a culture or a people who want complete people. You women want a man who has his own chopper, has a 6-figure salary. Men are looking for women who have the size 8 figure. But there comes a time you have to say, I will get the man from a bicycle to a 4x4. We shall grow together.
No, they don't.
And yes, I know I want a size 8 lady. I might have a size 23, but because I love her, I will walk with her at the gym every 6 o'clock in the morning. Because if you don't do that, when you marry that, then you start looking outside your house to look for that person who you wanted to have and you did not marry.
Okay.
And that's where cheating comes in.
I want to get your parting shots because we're raising a generation. There's young men who are watching. I still believe Oyunga, 18-year-old girls are small girls, particularly if they're working with 50-year-old or 55-year-old men
Things are bad in Nairobi.
who actually have daughters their age. I think those are small girls.
We are men here. I'm telling you without batting an eyelid, I'm sure we have encountered a woman, not a woman, a child, 18, who has stood, looked at you eyeball to eyeball and thought they can level up with you. And we tell them, you're a small child, what am I doing with you?
Yeah.
That confidence has come from social media, unfortunately.
Okay. So as we wind up this conversation, what's the way forward as regards relationships and the culture of divorce in this country? It's high. Divorce is at an extreme high. And women are actually walking out of relationships that are starting to be abusive emotionally because of the lies and the cheating and the humiliation at the end of the day, where your friends come and tell you that I met Baba so and so with 2 little babies and a lady at the supermarket. Those incidents are becoming quite common. So the way forward in a society that we hope will be morally correct in years to come, so that we have less of these incidents. Oyunga, I want to hear from you.
I think it cuts both ways. Naturally, you'll tend to hear more about infidelity when it involves a man because women are more likely to talk about it. Men, basically because of social sanction, you tend to be embarrassed. When you go telling the other men that my wife has done a number on me, guys tend to look at you and say like, what's going on in there? You've got some issues. You want to talk? Have a drink or something. Yeah. The thing is that, and it cuts both ways. And I think we've got to go beyond gender a little bit sometimes, because this is where we tend to get stuck a little bit here. The thing is that there has to be a lot of self-work going in, and we don't have a culture of self-work in the sense of like emotionally and spiritually and mentally. How then do you evolve? Our evolution tends to be based purely on material acquisition. So then you have this basically grown babies, men who are in their 50s with children, sometimes with grandchildren, who are doing some ridiculous, really dumb choices. So self-work is important, and it's not something you're going to be taught in school, and the school is only going to give you a foundation. It's something you can only do personally. So for guys, is that you've got to put in the work. If you don't put in the work, there'll be consequences, and they'll come to bite you in the ass.
Eric, self-work and self-worth, I believe, because I think some of the things that men put women through come from a deeper psychological problem or emotional problem, like Oyunga said, a low self-esteem, because if you can go around hurting people, there must be something something extremely wrong on the inside.
I couldn't agree more. Well, my closing remarks would be these. I feel strongly that people need to embrace self-knowledge, that understanding that my relationship can be different from yours, and that's okay, is very, very important. There is no corporate rule of how a relationship should be. You need to work on connecting and having a loving relationship with your spouse. So self-knowledge. What do I want as Eric? What do I look forward from a relationship? What do I want from my spouse? That is very important. Secondly, there is a principle of process. There is crawling, walking, and then running. You need to embrace that. Understand where you are in a relationship. A younger drives a Beamer. I am paying a loan for a Toyota 100. Baby, is that okay? You should be okay with that. One day, God willing, we'll drive a Beamer as well. So let's not jump the gun. Don't ask me to take you to Kiza every single day. I can't afford it. You know? So if we can have these, candid conversations amongst ourselves and be very open and honest about where we are in life with our partners, then we're going to see less and less and less of this.
Okay, before I move to Burale, have you ever cheated? Have you?
I'm not married, so
yeah, but it doesn't matter. This is not just about married persons. This is about relationships per se.
No, I haven't.
Okay, I didn't expect you to say.
No, for real.
Okay.
I haven't cheated.
Bob, have you cheated?
When I was in campus. Yes, when I was in campus.
You did?
I did, yes. I did, gladly at that time.
Okay.
And for me, I would rather we capture these things from a young age. All these things are a manifestation of failed family unit, whereby a kid is 13, they already have iPads and they have access to Wi-Fi, and they're looking at all this on social media. By the time they're getting to 19, they have no values in as far as marriage is concerned. The Bible, which Allah says, bring up a child in the way that they should go. When they grow up, they shall not depart from it. So by the time children are getting to 18, the values are done. Sex is no longer sacred. Marriage is no longer sacred. Fine, and let's forget about the past. I come from a failed marriage, but you will never hear me say marriage is a bad thing. I look forward to getting married again. But when you now look at your past failures to affect your future, that's why we're having it wrong. Just reconcile with your mistakes, move on, embrace what life has for you. Yeah,
not to dilute the conversation, but again to revisit the question about the money and the fact that you guys are spending a lot of money out there in your clandestine affairs and really not leaving money in the house even for bread and milk, and the assumption that women, because for instance I have a good career, I have a good salary, that you don't really need to play a role financially as a man or younger. You guys are popping bottles of champagne out there, but there's no food in the house.
No, that's just bad manners. It's jokers, right? You gotta step up. You gotta be responsible. What's the point of manhood? What's the point of being called a man if you can't take care of your business? I mean, there's no past there. I wouldn't even discuss it, man. That's just jokers.
Yeah, those are jokers. So somebody here, as we wind up, is saying, tell these guys they are wow. As a lady, they have been of great help to me. She's writing in from Muranga. Her name is Arabi. Love yourself, ladies. It's never that serious. And to the gentleman in studio, thank you very much. I hope I'll be getting a Chama in studio soon to respond to what you guys have been saying, the blame game, the fact that the ladies don't remove your shoes. Eric, seriously? Seriously?
Not literally.
Okay, so that's all the time we had. The hashtag is #1on1. Please keep engaging in the conversation. The gentlemen's Twitter handles are on our Twitter platform. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Everybody, I'm the man,